3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Best Practices for a Successful Migration to a New Payroll Platform. This webcast is brought to you by CPA Practice Advisor Magazine and Iris Software Group. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to explain how CPE for this webcast works. The webcast qualifies for 1 credit of continuing professional education. If you plan to earn CPE for attending this session, you must stay with us for at least 50 minutes. In addition, we will display 4 polling questions. During the webcast, you'll need to record an answer for at least 3 of these questions, as this is our verification that you are still watching. Later today, you'll receive an email from CPA Practice Advisor that contains a link to your CPE certificate, assuming you met the requirements for CPE. Please note that we can give CPE credit for multiple people watching on the same computer. So if there are others in your office who would like to attend this event at the same computer, please have them join you now. And at the end of the event, we'll provide an opportunity for you to send us their email addresses and names so that they too can receive CPE credit. At any time, you can enter any questions you might have in the Ask a Question box provided on your screen. And our speakers will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. Questions not answered during this live webinar will be addressed by the speakers afterwards via email. Slides are available for download by clicking the Event Resources option at the bottom of your screen and then clicking on the PDF file that displays. Also, the archived version of this presentation will appear on the CPA Practice Advisor website after the event ends. CPE credit will not be available for watching the archived version. Today, we're joined by Mario Doblas, Senior Manager, Professional Services at Iris Software Group, and Jeremy Schumacher, Lead Implementation Consultant at Iris Software Group. And they're joined by Michelle Meyer from the marketing team at Iris. And Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you right now.
Great, thank you. Let's just go right in to the agenda on what we're going to be covering. So we're going to be covering why we're going to briefly touch on switching payroll software platforms, why you may be looking to do that, why some firms decide not to, what the challenges they face when making that decision. But we will spend the bulk of this webinar, the time on how to prepare for a conversion, how to get yourself ready, your clients ready, the do's and don'ts for a quick and painless conversion, and different conversion options and plans, and how do you onboard your staff and clients. As Gail said, we're being joined by our migration dream team of Mario and Jeremy. Mario and Jeremy have nearly 30 years of experience in the implementation and service delivery of HCM, or human capital management, and payroll software. Over the years, their responsibilities have included the project management of large implementations, strategic planning, system conversions and training, data gathering, system data conversion, accuracy testing, training, again, and interface development. So it's really run the gamut of it. And I'm going to ask Mario a question I asked him right before we got on here about how many, like just in the last 3 months, how many conversions have you guys done?
Yes, that's a great question. Obviously, throughout our career, being almost 30 years, it's tough to put a number on it, but I did run numbers quickly, for the past 3 months, which is basically May, June, July, and we haven't even put in today's numbers, to be honest, but we're already at 2,300, a little bit over 2,300, so 2,320 clients that we've converted, and a total of 92,300 employees, of which about 30,000 are active employees. So quite a bit of data that we're moving on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So we've moved a lot of data in our careers, just to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least, definitely. Okay, let's dive right into why CPA firms and payroll service bureaus, why they decide to switch platforms. There's a lot of reasons, but the ones that we find the most is, is insufficient features and functionality. Maybe it doesn't have the functions needed to be competitive with other firms, such as mobile apps and employee self-service. It doesn't enable you to be more efficient. The workload is too high because of its inefficiency. Doesn't have functionality like automated tax filings and calculations. Not switch because of inadequate support. A lot of payroll software companies are really more of a vendor than a partner. So you get a call center overseas with people reading off a script. That obviously is not sufficient, and that is a big reason to switch to a different partner. A lack of integration with accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll software, because that integration kind of goes hand in hand. Payroll data needs to be sent automatically to your accounting system, let's say. So the software should integrate with applications such as QuickBooks, CS Accounting, and others. Calculations with tax calculations are a big deal because that can open you up to compliance risks. You have to monitor compliance regulations. That could be a full-time job for somebody on your staff. Your software partners should be monitoring that for you and supporting calculations and compliance for federal and all 50 states. Another reason could be just a difficult or unusable interface. It really doesn't matter how good a platform is if it's hard for your staff and clients to use, right? And the list goes on and on. Other reasons are manual processes. This kind of gets back to the problems with efficiency. The software should automate repetitive processes, so staff is spending time on more advisory work, not on these manual data entry actions. It also reduces the chance of errors that come from manual entries. Another reason could be breaches in data security. Payroll involves sensitive personal financial information and is a prime target for hackers. And perhaps they kind of nickel and dime you. After you purchase the software, you find out things aren't quite as included. And, every year the price really goes up, things like that. We already kind of touched on, having time and attendance for client employees is a big deal, things like that. Mario and Jeremy, what are some of the top reasons you hear when you're working with firms and payroll service bureaus that have decided to switch about why they made that jump?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. You hit on a lot of them, Michelle, but obviously the added efficiencies is a big one, right? So streamlining Irish payroll systems allow you to kind of streamline your processes, automate certain processes using portals like your employee self-service and things of that nature that just allow you to offload some of the workload onto the client and really reducing the time that your internal staff is spending on these processes, right? I would say what's one of the biggest thing, as well as enhanced functionality that they can offer their clients, it's going to grow their revenue, right? So maybe they've walked away from some deals that they just couldn't handle because of their current software solution. Irish Payroll will allow you to take those on and increase your revenues without having to really increase headcount, quite honestly, because of the added efficiencies, the streamlining of the processes and the automations.
Great,
Jeremy, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, no, I think I'll just double down on that. A lot of the clients that we've been working with, most of the softwares out there will provide payroll calculations and that sort of thing. But what you don't realize as you grow is how much time it takes for the different softwares out there to accommodate that. And as you're growing your business, you find out that it takes a lot longer to get through some of that. So yeah, those clients are looking for the efficiencies to be able to do more with less. And that's where some of the different softwares out there make sense to make the move to.
Great, thanks. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about a particular customer of ours that went through a fairly big conversion and continues to do so as they grow and scale and bring on new clients and actually buy out some other firms. But right now I'm going to play a little audio clip from Matt Contardi. He is the owner of Sharp Payroll Services. They started as a bookkeeping firm only and then added payroll. And now payroll has become the bigger part of their business. But let's just see if we can hear what he has to say about why they decided to switch.
I think number one was functionality, ease of use. We wanted something that was intuitive, that wouldn't be difficult, A, for us to learn, but B, for us to teach to our clients. Our vision and our business plan was really to be like more of a middleman providing customer support and have the software be the star of the show. And so once we teach a client how to enter payroll, really for us, it's just a matter of overseeing it, putting a set of eyes on the payroll before we press a button and send it on its way. And so it's really allowed us, like I said, previously, to really scale up and to become very profitable. I mean, the number two thing that we were looking for, other than functionality, obviously, because we needed to be able to compete with ADP and Paychex. The number two thing was price. I was looking for software that gave me that functionality, but wasn't looking to become my full business partner. And so a lot of these software options that I found were attractive. They had some nice features, and it was impressive when we did the demo. But then it would come down to the price, and they were basically looking for half my business. And so one of the things that was nice with Irish was the software was incredible. I wasn't forfeiting anything or giving up anything that the other companies were offering, but I was still able to, purchase the software at a reasonable price and then compete with ADP and Paychex and even come in lower than them and still remain profitable.
Okay, hopefully you can all hear that. Gail, we are ready to go to our first poll question.
All right, everyone. This is the first of 4 polling questions, and it is, what is your most pressing issue with your current payroll software technology? And the answer choices are lack of required features or functionality, insufficient customer support, too hard to use, it isn't user-friendly, too expensive, or all of the above, or something else. You could pick other. And if you pick other, we would love it if you would enter in that ask a question box what your other issue is so that we can all learn from that. If you have any trouble answering the question, it should have popped up in a separate window for you. But if it didn't, depending on the device you're using, it might not pop up. You can always just enter your question in the ask a question box and we'll record it there.
Okay. Should we give people a minute or so to answer before we move on?
Let's just do about another 5 seconds. So
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there's a mix across the board, although it looks like the winning candidate for what our most pressing issue is insufficient customer support.
That is interesting. That is very interesting. I think that's becoming a bigger and bigger deal. And that's really the difference between a vendor and a partner. We have heard of certain software companies that put kind of rules in place, like, they don't white label the software. It's really about their brand, not your brand. Or, you never know who you're going to get when you call customer support. So I get it. And you really should expect a partner that succeeds when you succeed. And to do that, you need really good customer support. So that's interesting to hear. Okay, moving on. Now that we kind of talked about why firms need to or find that they really want to switch to a different software platform, why do some not switch? Even when they are experiencing those issues. Usually if they don't want to do it, even if their software isn't working for them, perhaps they've gone through a conversion that was really, really hard. I think we even talked to Mara and Jeremy before about customers who really say that they really kind of have PTSD from a previous conversion, that it was so hard. Either, things were messed up and they had errors now due to the conversion, or the workload is just so heavy to get that done. And fear of the change. Sometimes you get some pushback from staff and even customers about having to learn a new UI, or just doing things differently, even if the previous way of doing it caused more hours of work due to inefficiencies. Mario and Jeremy, what concerns do you typically hear from firms about migration? Like, what are their biggest fears?
Yeah, again, I think you hit on a lot of them. Definitely just certainly PTSD from prior ones, right? Whether they lost data or, most independent payroll providers run lean on staff and they don't have the time to dedicate to a project like that. I think also you kind of touched on it. A lot of times people have been using a certain software for a very long time. Maybe their payroll processors have been with them for a very long time. So a lot of times it's just fear of change, right? Even though they want to make that jump to that next level and really start, increasing the functionality that they can offer and then the processes they can offer their clients, they're not ready to make that move quite yet or commit just because of the time commitment that may be associated with that based on, prior instances. So we try to take care of a lot of that by offering our services and really taking the heavy lifting out of it. But I think that's probably the biggest things we hear. Jeremy, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the decision maker isn't the one doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So what ends up happening is there's a lot of pushback from their staff because they know the work involved, especially if they've been through it once. So, there's nothing easy about the change. However, like Mario said, what we try to do when we bring a new client on board is do a lot of that heavy lifting and take away some of the miseries that they've experienced in the past. And we've had a lot of success with that.
Great. Well, let's kind of start to dive into why you've had a lot of success for that, what your processes are as far as a conversion. What we've kind of always said is, changing payroll software platforms doesn't need to be hard, and it can be the biggest move you make for the profitability of your firm as far as payroll. Sticking with a payroll software platform that doesn't meet your needs can lead to inefficiency, mistakes, and a big one is wasted time. The longer you rely on an ineffective system, the more it drags down your staff's productivity and raises compliance risks. It might sound overwhelming, but it's far easier than dealing with the constant frustrations of software that doesn't work for you, and that just goes on and on and on. We can't go as far as saying a software platform change can be, a complete piece of cake, but it definitely doesn't need to be as hard as what many firms have gone through with other conversions. I will now pass it over to the experts, Mario and Jeremy, to tell you how a smooth transition can and should go.
Yeah, so I think start at the beginning, and Jeremy kind of touched on this a little bit. A lot of times the people that are in the demos right at the beginning, at the initial thought of switching, right, are the owners of the company, the leaders of the company. One thing I think that really helps is bringing in the rest of the staff sooner than later, right? So it's not a surprise to them. Again, we run into a lot of times where people are just, they're afraid, they maybe they don't want to learn something new, whatever the case may be. I think when a firm is making a change, they're doing it for a reason, right? We went over those reasons prior, right? They want to increase revenue. They want to add efficiencies. They want to go after larger clients. They want to offer more enhanced functionality, right? So I think you want to get everyone excited over that. And it is exciting, right? You're going to be able to offer more to your clients. You're going to be able to offload some of the work to the clients. And I think you want to share that with your staff. You want to share that excitement about your firm making that next move. I think after that, you really want to start planning it out, right? Once you've made a decision on the software that you're moving to, you want to take a look at your base, right? No one knows your clients better than you do. And just, look internally, clean up any kind of data that may need to be cleaned up. One of the things that we do to make things easier is we try to bring over everything electronically, right? Which is great for data integrity purposes and making sure that, there's no missed keys or anything like that. We're basically exporting and importing, which can be great as long as the source of the data is clean, right? If it's not clean, then you're going to end up with the same stuff in the new database or the new software platform. So cleaning up your data, and then creating a plan, right? A plan of where you're moving, really understanding your client base on payroll frequencies and complexity, right? We always recommend starting with less complex clients. Doesn't necessarily mean smaller clients, just less complex, right? Start with your less complex. This gives you an opportunity to get into the software, really learn it, sit down, really go through it and become an expert on it before you start putting in these more complex clients that may require a little bit more hand holding, right? And really coming up with a plan on also when you want to end the project, right? If you have 500 clients, 300 clients, whatever it is, and you're on a current platform, when do you want to turn that other platform off, right? And, again, we see it all over the board. We have clients that come to us and say, we want to be off the current platform as soon as possible. And we can accommodate that. And we have others that want to move a little bit slower, right? But a lot of times people don't want to do two different processes for a very long time. They don't want to pay for two softwares for a very long time. So that kind of stuff. And, just taking into account trainings as well and that kind of deal when you're planning it out, right? There's things, obviously, Michelle touched on it. There's different portals that these clients are going to be using. If you're rolling out employee self-service, you got to enroll all the employees in that and kind of have, something like this, really like webinars that you can invite your clients to. I would even go as far as starting that as soon as you make the decision. Again, you're making this decision for a reason, right? And you want to create that excitement with your staff. You want to create that excitement with your actual end clients as well. This is an upgrade, not just for you guys, it's an upgrade for them. And you want to have that excitement so that they're not afraid of, it's better to have them almost knocking on your door like, hey, when is it my turn to be upgraded, rather than kind of pushing it out to them. So those are some of the keys, I think. And Jeremy, I don't know what you want to add to that.
I think you captured the bulk of it, but I think having people involved early is very key, and getting everybody trained, and your end users. A lot of clients will use like opportunities to do like prior to rolling it out trainings that are showing what's coming as a part of that excitement feature, to say this is what you're going to be utilizing, this is where the advantages are coming for you, and that's part of building that excitement to the switch. It's also an opportunity when you're switching from an old or a bit cumbersome type software platform to take that moment to clean up some of your data, to do it in a way that's more efficient and makes sense. So with that change, you can take and create better processes for your business so that things are kind of flowing in a very clean fashion. And with the switch, you have that opportunity to kind of create that cleansing of your data with the move, so that you're not getting convoluted processes that came from the old system into the new one. That's a nice feature that a lot of our clients have enjoyed as we onboard them.
Okay. So now that we've kind of get an overview of the best practices, let's kind of deep dive, well, a little bit of a deep dive into each one of these areas. So let's touch on preparing for a conversion. If you guys can just go into a little more detail on that.
Yeah, so again, as far as creating a conversion plan, again, it's kind of taking that deep dive into your client base, really looking at, what taxing jurisdictions are you in? What kind of deductions are you using? What kind of earning codes are you using? Kind of touching on what Jeremy was saying earlier, is preparing the data so that it can be utilized in the most efficient way in the new software. You don't want to get into this is how we were doing it before, so we're going to continue to do it the same way. You want to take advantage of the efficiencies that exist within the new software, right? So if there's different setups that need to be done, we want to take that and we take advantage of that and really, capture those efficiencies so that you're really gaining everything you can from the new software. Again, I always want to put things in perspective as far as complex clients to least complex clients. and then organizing them by pay frequency, as well as probably, when you're thinking they're going to go, right? What products are they using? Are they using the portal? Are they traditional call-in payrolls, email payrolls? Are they time clock users? Like what ancillary products are they using that you're going to have to make sure are available and ready to go? Are they importing an Excel file that you need to make sure and have ready once you move them over? And kind of prepare that way. Once you have everything laid out as to your basically what your client base looks like, you can start kind of putting them into buckets of which ones you want to move first. Again, still keeping in mind that ultimate timeline end, right? That project end of we want to be done with all of our clients by X date or by this quarter, so on and so forth. Once you have everything organized, then you can just kind of take those and divide them out based on that timeline to make sure you're going to hit the end date and not go over, right? But I think that's probably the best thing to do, as well as, what Jeremy was saying, start training your clients early. Again, create that buzz on, this is new, you're getting an upgrade. This is great, not just for us, but it's great for you guys. Take an opportunity to maybe show off some of those enhanced features, right? Even if they're not currently using them. Again, our clients grow 12 to 15% a year. And they do that by using these enhanced features, right? You can go ahead and start showing those off, and maybe it'll get people that want to sign up for that. Again, increasing your revenue stream just by switching platforms. I think that's what I have. Jeremy, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think you got it.
Okay, let's go a little bit deeper in and talk about the steps involved in creating a conversion plan.
Yeah, so we get involved very early. We do the meet and greet. There's different options depending on the size of the company. Myself and Jeremy can go on site and do kind of a planning meeting with you on site, and we do that for our larger clients. Or it could be done virtual like this. Obviously, the world changed after COVID, and a lot of things are done virtual. We're fine with that, and have all the technology available to get that done in an efficient manner. But that meet and greet is really to dive into, hopefully you've done your work and you've kind of got an idea of what you would like to do and what your client base looks like. And that's where we discuss that, right? And go over that and make sure we're all on the same page, make sure we can meet the timelines that you're looking for, and maybe bring up some stuff you might have not thought of, like training employees and training, staff, and then training end clients and things of that nature. We really get going into the next steps of, after the purchase of the software, right? After the purchase of the software, you're going to talk about the training plan. We provide a very extensive training plan. It is, our solutions are very robust, and we do want you guys to be fully professionals in it and being able to move around comfortably. So we provide a lot of training, a lot of hand holding. We have a client success team that's going to walk with you each step of the way. You're introduced to the team at that meet and greet. So you're going to meet your trainer, you're going to meet your client success manager, you're going to meet myself and Jeremy, and the rest of the data conversion team, and basically the team that's going to walk you through that initial 3 months at minimum, and even more if needed.
Okay, couple more steps. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to handle this one, Jeremy.
Totally. So yeah, I mean, when you're planning out your movement of your clients, right? You want to grab your smaller, simpler clients up front. It always makes the best sense because you're just learning the software. There's no reason to get into the most complex clients in your first couple of weeks of moving clients, so that you're becoming efficient on the software with just kind of the standard processes, and getting through that stuff before really taxing yourself with your clients that have a lot of nuance. Making sure everybody in terms of your staff is also getting comfortable with that. Usually when we're grabbing clients, we're spreading them across your processors so that each are getting a few and getting into the system that way before diving in. A lot of times what we suggest is, if you have clients that run their own payrolls and you're coming off software that offered that option, of doing their own payrolls online. We would suggest that, maybe you push those a little later in the project so that, you're familiar with it. We also would suggest that you guys utilize some of those tools when you're processing payrolls. Use some of the online imports or online input options so that you know what the tool sets look like that your clients will be using. And that way, when it comes time to start supporting them on it, you're better versed in those processes and you're familiar with the screens and such. Obviously, communication is everything. So you're always going to want to be in front of letting your client base know what's coming, when it's coming, what the changes are. Something we always talk about is having like sample report packages out of the new software so that they're able to see what the differences are. You can send out packages to them that shows them this is what you were getting, this is where you'll find it on the new software. These are always very nice to haves for your client base so that they're prepared and ready when the switch is made. That brings a lot less questions into your staff as they're trying to, onboard and do new business on the new software.
Okay. And the last step in an effective conversion plan.
Yeah, so we've been touching on this on each one of the slides, right? Is really coming up with that project plan. And we talk about this in the first meet and greet. We go through it. Obviously, as everybody knows, timelines can change, right? Things can happen. Maybe you lose a staff member. Maybe, quarter end wasn't as efficient on the previous software. Things can go on. So we can adjust. That timeline is dynamic, right? We're going to adjust to whatever you need. But we do want to try to effectively get to that endpoint on time, right? So we take stock each week on where we are. We'll follow up with you if we see you kind of disappearing, like, hey, we were supposed to get 10, 20 clients this week. We haven't seen you. What's going on? Making sure everybody's okay. Again, kind of what Jeremy was saying, communication is key, not just with your clients, but with us as your partner as well. Like Michelle keeps saying, we do see this as a partnership. We want you to grow. Like I said, our service bureaus are greatly growing, which is great, right? We want that. We want it to increases everybody's revenue, which is what everybody wants. But really trying to go through and keeping communication open and talking about any kind of complexities you may have run into. We have I know that one of the biggest things that people talk about is support. It came up in the poll that you guys had, and we do things very differently here in the sense we have very rigid SLAs, service level agreements, right? That are very, very rigid, and we have to adhere to them, and they're monitored by everybody. And we do stick to them, right? We have a great ticketing system as well as a phone number where people actually answer. It's not a machine. They're not speaking voice commands and things of that nature. So we take it very seriously, and we try to do the best we can for keeping the communication open. And like I said, within those first 90 days, you're really just dealing with a core client success team. That is really just that is what we are doing, is making sure you're going to be successful on the new platform.
Speaking of timeline, can you tell us, Mario or Jeremy, how long does a typical conversion take? I mean, I know it depends on how many clients the firm has, but can you give us kind of an idea of the timeline?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, kind of what we spoke about earlier, depending on the clients, on the firm's desire, right? Whether they want to be off as quickly as possible. I mean, we've gone on site and we've done 200 plus clients in 5 days, right? Because they just want to turn off their other solutions as quickly as possible. We've also, I would say the average is probably 3 months. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think a quarter. A lot of the shops we get are anywhere from, 50 to 300 clients. That's probably where that sweet spot is. And anyone in that size range, pretty much 3 months is all we would need to really move that amount of clients. So it's really based on their comfort level. And that's part of what we pitch. We want to move at the client's pace. We want to make sure they're comfortable with the speed that we're moving. They have their needs to be off at a certain time or their wants to be off at a certain time. So we stay within those confines of how they want to move. But if you give us a time frame, we're going to do our best to hit that. I would say anything larger than that, as you get to larger service bureaus, when they're up around 1,000, those can be more like a 6-month program.
Yeah, agreed. And a lot of times what we find is we can usually move a lot quicker than the service bureau would like to, or the firm would like to, right? So a lot of times they'll say that we want to move as quickly as possible, and then they kind of tell us, hey, let's slow it down a little bit. You guys are moving a little bit too quickly. Like, we can. A day like yesterday, we did 86, I think, conversions in one day. So we can definitely move data pretty fast, but obviously you need time to, we do balance it and everything as well, but we still ask you to look it over, make sure it's okay. You need time to train your clients and make sure they're ready to go. So I would say, I think that's a good, 3 months is probably the average, but some of the larger projects that we've done, as Jeremy said, with, 1,000+ clients, those are probably 6-month projects.
Okay. We are ready for our second poll question, Gail.
Okay, this is our second out of 4 polling questions. What is your biggest concern with switching to a new software platform? And your options are errors during the migration process, the workload associated with converting to a new platform, losing income during a conversion, training staff and clients on new technology, all of the above, or other. And again, if you picked other, please enter your answer. What is your biggest concern in the Ask a Question box down at the bottom of your screen, and we will record it there. Also, if you have any trouble answering this online, just put your answer in that box and we'll make sure that we record it.
And as you're doing that, the next sections that we'll be covering is the different conversion programs, I guess you could say, that you could choose from, what level of conversion assistance you want. And then we're going to be looking at like I said, a particular, I would say a payroll service business. They're kind of a sister company to an accounting firm, started out as an accounting firm. And then, like a lot of them do, they find out that payroll is very, it's year-round revenue. It can be a really big profit center. So they kind of create a sister company that's just for payroll. So we'll be covering that in a minute. Am I good to go to the next slide?
Okay, and by the way, it looked like about half of our respondents said all of the above.
Okay. Lots of worries around that. Okay. So like I said, we're going to talk about the different levels of conversion assistance that Iris provides. Like I said, Jeremy and Mario have been doing this a long time. Don't want to age you guys, but it has been almost 30 years. So they have definitely cracked the code on what clients need and what kind of conversion assistance we should be providing as a partner. Can we first look at the full service conversion? Can you guys give us a description of how that works?
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is the I guess the Cadillac of the conversion services, right? We always tell everybody. I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting that you said all the above on the previous poll, and I kind of expected that, right? There's a lot of it's tough, and we always tell everybody there's no easy button for conversions, right? But I think if you talk to anyone that's gone through ours, they will tell you it's a lot simpler transition than they've ever experienced, right? And that's because of the full service or any of the services that we offer, right? The full service, basically, we're gonna get either reports from you guys, or if you give us access to your current platform, we can pull reports. And we're doing everything from building the client shells, which is kind of the company demographics and tax and jurisdictions and that kind of stuff, right? Everything that goes along with the company setup, as well as extracting the data and massaging the data and importing the data, right? So really the entire ETL process, if you will, from extracting to transforming to loading. And we take care of everything really at that point. Once we hand it off to you, you're really just running 3 reports, verifying it, and that client is kind of ready to run payroll, unless they're using other services like GL and things of that nature, right? As well as like employee self-service and things like that. Obviously, that's got to be set up after the fact. But for the most part, all of the data, all of the client setup, everything's going to be done by our staff, right? So it really takes a lot of the workload off of your current staff, right? Where you're doing more of just a verification process and a training of your end clients, and ready to rock and roll, really.
Okay. So that's full service conversion, but we have other options here too.
Yeah, the on-site, I mean, that's basically, it's really what it is. We do have larger service bureaus, some of those that are in the, I would say even the 300 to 1,000 client range, right? Where they like to bring us on site. And basically what that does is we're dedicated to your project only, right? So when we're not on site, we're working multiple projects at the same time, right? So if you wanted to do a bulk migration where I want to bring over 200 clients this week, 250 clients, whatever that is, we can go on site and then basically do that for you. The other advantage and the other reason people take this on site is because we're there to help train and help answer any questions that may come up, right? So you're not entering in tickets, you're not looking for your client success manager, you're not sending in any of that stuff, right? We're there. If you have a question on a payroll, you just turn to us and ask, and we help you out, right? So we're helping you. We're there to convert the data, but we're also helping you take those clients live. We're also helping you run those payrolls. We're answering any questions, even things that we may see that you may not even think about. I can recall we were on site at one client, and we saw them entering in this ginormous payroll, this big restaurant, and they've got all these spreadsheets, and they're copying and pasting, doing all this stuff, and I simply asked, like, where's this data coming from? And it was coming from a point of sale system, Toast. And I'm like, we can probably just import that. And, while we were on site, we built an import for them to be able to import that time, and really saved them, hours, quite honestly. So I think that's a big advantage, and one that, a lot of our, like I said, probably the 300 clients and above, do take advantage of.
Okay.
The assisted conversion is, yeah, sorry, I missed that one. The assisted conversion is basically if there are certain software packages that may be pretty archaic, I think at this point, and maybe do not allow for any kind of exporting of data, and this is quite frankly going away because of a lot of the AI tools that are out there nowadays. We're working and really trying to figure out how to even pull data from PDFs and stuff of that nature, right? Even if we can't get data in an electronic format, whether it's a text file, a CSV file, an Excel file, really all payroll systems can produce reports, right? But as a last resort, we will go ahead and key your data for you if there's absolutely no option. But again, this is something that we we'll take our time and try to really exhaust any possible solution. And again, with a lot of the different AI tools out there, there's a lot more newer solutions that we could take advantage of that are really making our lives a little bit easier, if you will.
Great. We are ready for our third poll question out of 4.
Okay, this is our poll number 3. What is your timeline for implementing a new payroll solution? And the possible answers are 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, sometime in 2025, or I'm not looking to change our payroll solution in the foreseeable future. So choose whatever is most appropriate in your situation, and then click the submit button. Okay.
Okay.
And I think you guys can continue while these answers are coming in.
Okay. Next, we're going to kind of go into that case study, basically, we were talking about. It's a real payroll service bureau conversion story. But like I said, it's what this was is an accounting firm that started offering payroll, that started getting a lot bigger part of their business. So they kind of created a sister company that was just on payroll and named it Applied Payroll Solutions. We've seen that quite a bit from a lot of our accounting firms where they do that once they find out that payroll not only being a year-round revenue, once they get good technology, it can really be a profit driver. So Applied Payroll Solutions, they're in Texas, so they specialize in payroll, time and attendance. They do some HR type things through the software, like onboarding and scheduling, things like that. Before they converted to an Iris payroll solution, they had about 200 clients. And they have been this was a few years ago, and they have been bringing in a lot of new clients since then. And the reasoning was really why they were looking for a new payroll solution was they were working really, really long hours. Their staff was completely overloaded, and it meant that they really couldn't bring on any new clients. They hit their maximum capacity. And there was a lot of inflexibility for their clients. They couldn't go into the software themselves and enter anything, which caused the clients didn't like that. Plus, it, again, created more work for everybody at Applied Payroll Solutions. But let's hear from Martin Nolan. He's the CEO of Applied Payroll Solutions, and he is going to talk a little bit about why they decided to switch.
The challenge that we had was not that the software wasn't capable, it's just that it wasn't scalable. And what I mean by that is in that platform, we did everything. I mean, from A to Z, we had to enter new employees. We had to make pay rate changes. We had to change direct deposits. What I'm saying in that description is the client had no access into the software because it was too technical and too difficult to use. It wasn't user-friendly, easiest way to put it. So we had clients who would say, hey, we really want to do this. We want to have our hands on our software. We want to change, add our employees. We want to do these things. We couldn't let them do it because it was just too difficult. It was just the user interface was so difficult. So our challenge became, how we had more people working for us at 75 clients than we do today at where we're at this current time.
Okay. So let's go into their conversion process. Okay. I do know Mario and Jeremy, you guys were around. You were the ones doing this conversion. Can you tell us a little bit about their conversion process, how that went, how long it took? I know they opted for the on-site conversion. So if you could just give us an idea of that particular.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so great story. Obviously, they were dealing with some frustrations from their current platform. They had really reached a moment where they were absolutely working till 10, 11 p.m. on most nights, just trying to get through their day. And I think they were at about 170 or 100 something clients at that point. And they just couldn't grow any longer, right? As well as they had clients asking for additional enhanced features that they couldn't offer because the platform just didn't allow for it to be offered in an efficient manner, right? In a user-friendly manner. So they also had some PTSD because they had switched. This was going to be their second switch, right? So they were on a current platform. They went to the one that we moved them from. And they basically they took their time making a decision. They're like, this is it. This is our final stop. And they did have a lot of questions, right? But I think they opted for the on-site because of that, because of the prior experiences and that kind of stuff. They were very well prepared. They, great people to work with, very easy. Their staff was fully on board as well. They were obviously very welcoming because they were looking forward to the efficiencies that were going to be coming with the new software platform, right? Not just the additional functionality or any of that, but quite frankly, they were excited to be able to get home at a decent time. So while on site, I think we converted roughly. We were going to convert the whole thing. I mean, they really wanted to turn off their current platform as quickly as possible. They were pretty frustrated. We ended up. They told us to slow down probably about Wednesday, I believe. We arrived there on Sunday, and we're scheduled to be there for an entire week. And about Wednesday, kind of tapped us on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you guys need to slow down. You guys are moving way faster than we can." So I think we ended up at about 127, 130 clients for that week, and left maybe 30 or so on stragglers out there. And we spent a lot of time again doing helping them with those efficiencies, helping them use the software to their advantage, and making changes so that they can, they get home at a certain time and, take on more clients. This is actually where we saw them, typing that huge spreadsheet, and we're able to build an import tool for them so they could just import the time. And we did that for a couple of other of their clients as well. So they really were, they were a success story like most of our service bureaus are. They've grown tremendously. They continue to grow tremendously, and they continue to use us for conversion. Myself, Jeremy, our department, we don't just do conversions for current clients, but again, this is a partnership. We remain your partner throughout the life cycle of you using our software, right? So even if you run into, we're done with your project, we've converted all your clients, but you run into a really large opportunity that you don't have a chance, you don't have the ability to do it, or you want to utilize more of an electronic expertise type method, then you can still reach out to us and we'll help you get that done. So I think that's probably it. Jeremy, I don't know if you want to add anything about our trip to Lubbock.
No, I mean, I think you covered it. I know that they were a bit shocked at how quickly we were able to move some of the data. And like you said, on Wednesday, we really pivoted and spent our time working on efficiencies at that point on trying to improve their day-to-day, training them on different features within the system that could improve their day-to-day, and working with the web interface so that they could start to transition some of their clients over to that piece that were interested in it. So we definitely try to spend our on-site time hitting what's important to the service bureau and making sure that it's worth your time and money to have us there.
Okay, well, let's hear from Martin directly, Martin Nolan of APS on how it felt for them during that conversion process.
Well, I was kind of looking towards this payroll migration as, oh my gosh, I know what this is like. This is going to take forever, 150. Everything that comes in is going to be wrong. We're going to have so much manual work to fix it. And I can't tell you how pleasantly surprised we were when it took place. So again, approximately 150 clients in the old platform needed to move over to the new platform. Iris has a group of developers and conversion specialists that are the best I've ever seen. They actually, we made the decision to bring two of the guys to Lubbock. And Mario and Jeremy sat here in the room with us, and they were ready to get started. And they took over the room and the table, and they said, all right, who do you want to start with first? We started at the top. We're going to work down to 150. And I said, all right, what do we do here? And he says, well, you need to go set up the shell in Iris, get it ready so they will have a place to receive the data. All right, that's easy enough. So we start setting them up. We disperse about 25 at a time down to our staff, and they're setting up 25 new clients, getting the shells ready to go. And before we could get halfway through, Mario and Jeremy say, all right, we're ready for the first 25. We're ready to bring the data. And I said, you're what? He said, yeah, the data's ready. We're ready to bring it in. I said, whoa, slow down a little bit. We had to put the brakes on those guys because we couldn't move quick enough. So they started bringing data over, and we started looking at it. And the first thing that struck me, Tyler, is we had them go back to 2020. Now, again, this was in 2022, they were doing this. So we had over 2.5 to 3 years worth of data that we wanted them to bring in, actually back to 2019. And so when they brought the data into the new system, into IRIS, we started looking in the payroll journal. Every single paycheck was present, fully present. All the deductions, the taxes, everything was there. It looked as if we ran that payroll in 2019 and 2020 in the IRIS software. Wow. And so it was tremendous. And then the accuracy of the data was incredible because the conversion team is so well versed in payroll. They know how to run the tests to make sure everything's in balance and everything's what it's supposed to look like. Even today, we take advantage of that service because we have to go back and clients say, all right, can you give me this report from 2020 first quarter? Yes, we can. We didn't run that payroll in the IRIS software, but we've got the data. So it was just absolutely tremendous. And I will say that migrating that data and getting it onboarded was the best thing we could do. We just weren't fast enough internally to keep up with the conversion guys. I think that's an awesome problem to have.
So that definitely backs up everything we just heard from Mario and Jeremy. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but the feedback we've gotten from Martin has been amazing. They've been able to bring more clients on. They have something to sell a little bit more with showing them the IRIS platform. Their feedback from current clients has been amazing. But instead of me going through that, let's hear from Martin again. Sorry.
The key difference was we immediately knew that our client would be able to access and process their payrolls. And we didn't all have to do it. We were essentially the payroll clerk for 150 companies in the old system. And now and I'll jump forward a little bit just to say that we've made a great decision, it's gotten to the point where we really don't even probably speak to our clients much anymore. We now make efforts to go back to our clients and stay in touch with them and talk to them because they process their payrolls. We get a notification that it's been approved. We push it through to ACH and we're done. And we've actually lowered the number of our staff. And so the key difference is tremendous. The ease of use, the frustrations that we used to have. I mean, we go home we start regular hours and we go home at regular hours now. We get to work 8 hours today. In the past, we were working 10 and 12 hours, especially during busy semi-monthly processes. So we got our lives back and the stress levels went down. And so just a ton of key differences between the initial software and what we're doing today. It just made us realize that, one, we get our lives back, where our stress levels have dropped. The other thing that I think is really important, not only do we get the benefits of that, but the product that we're putting out is better. And what I mean, it's accurate. We don't have a ton of issues. We don't have people that are misapplied whatever way it could be in payroll. It's accurate. When we get to the quarters, when it's time to do our audits, the audits are clean. Everything's gone well. We have very few complaints, from the client that the payroll was messed up, that they're having issues. They're thrilled with the platform. And so it's just made that all the better. So what does that help you do? Now it frees you up to develop your time and go after new clients.
Okay. We have another poll question coming up that I think we only have 1 minute to do. So we'll quickly get into that.
All right, great. Thanks so much. This is our last polling question, and it is, are you interested in scheduling a demo or a consultation to learn more about IRIS payroll software solutions? And the answer options are, I would like a demo of an IRIS payroll software solution, or I would like someone to reach out to me with more product info or pricing, or not at this time.
Okay. And I know we have hit that 3 p.m. time, at least here on the East Coast. Once you look at the PowerPoint slide deck, you'll see some QR codes there that have more resources. You just click on those and you can find out a little bit more about what Mario and Jeremy do with that professional services brochure, because migration's not all they do. and then some more resources. I'm sorry we did not get to any of the questions, but if you put them in the question box, CPA Practice Advisor will send those to us and we will get back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mario and Jeremy and Michelle, for an fascinating and useful presentation. We hope all of you enjoyed this webinar, and we certainly appreciate your choosing to spend your time with us today. Remember that you will receive a link in your email this afternoon with your CPE certificate. If you have any questions about CPE, you can contact me directly at gperry, G-P-E-R-R-Y, at cpapracticeadvisor.com. Also, if others are watching this event with you at the same computer and they require CPE credit, you can email me their names and email addresses. And again, that's gperry at cpapracticeadvisor.com. In just a moment, you'll see a post-event survey evaluation form appear on your screen, and we would certainly appreciate it if you would take a moment to provide us with a little feedback so we can continue to improve our webinar series. Thank you all so much for your time and for all of these great insights. Our audio will end now.
Thank you.